Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is February 28th, 2024, and you are listening and watching the Daily AI Show. We are talking about the news, all the news that is fit to talk about today. Hang on. I am Beth Lyons, and Jyunmi Hatcher is here with me, and we think maybe some of the rest of the team may come, may not, but we're totally prepared to give you the rundown. We wave to Brian, who is traveling. It's been like the last 2 weeks in news have been like explosive. Like we come and we're like, okay, we barely have any idea. This week's news story, like there are a couple of really big stories, but there are also some sleeper stories that indicate that things have been kind of happening all along, and these are just being released now. But Jyunmi, do you have something that you want to start us off with? I will also welcome Karl. So again, Beth, Jyunmi, and Karl are here today.
So the sleeper story, I think, because I didn't see too much coverage on this, was Intel's announcement to deliver 100 million deliver chips for 100 million AI PCs by 2025.
Oh,
All right.
wow.
And so the way they identify what an AI PC is, Intel is looking to combine hardware with Microsoft's software in terms of Copilot, right? So Intel's still the biggest chip maker for PCs, in the world, and they're looking to get in on the hardware level, or what we like to call the pickaxe and shovel side of things, right? And so Intel's already known for making their core line of chips. And so the vast majority of PCs are low-end PCs that have a built-in GPU and CPU as part of their chipset, right? NVIDIA is very famous for making a separate GPU for high performance 3D and gaming, and that has translated in their play for AI now in data centers and things like that. So Intel's taking another tack by getting into the PC itself by combining a CPU, GPU, and what they're calling an NPU, or neural processing unit. And we talked about other chips in the past, or in the last few days, about LPUs, or language processing units, or a light processing unit. And so Intel's plan is, by combining these chipsets into a single hardware chipset and combining with Microsoft and their Copilot, they'll have a complete package, both hardware and software, for all of their PCs. And so they're looking to do 40 million PCs this year and 60 million PCs next year. The other thing that they're working on is combining with, or collaborating with, security companies for their AI products. So you can use your AI PC to help identify potential issues, block malware, virus scan, all those kinds of things. And so when you combine that with a product like Copilot, you have basically AI processes across the board, and it's built in into your base hardware. So we're going to see this influx of an AI infused or AI built PC starting this year.
Nice.
So I think this is a lot bigger than a lot of the other news that are out there in terms of foundational things. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. Hey, nice. Andy. Hey, Karl.
Hey.
Andy.
So now we're Beth, Jyunmi, Karl, and Andy. So, Jyunmi, this is a personal computer or server quality?
This is personal computer.
Nice.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's funny that it was announced at the Mobile World Conference. But considering that we see Apple like really moving in, trying to changed their inroads into AI and their, and we, and into the iPhone and things like that. And we see other movement of making language models fit into mobile devices. I don't think there's been much discussion of AI on the personal computer. It may not be the biggest market in terms between mobile devices and desktops, but everyone's got one, right?
Right.
It's a hardware that's so ubiquitous that we almost sometimes forget that this is what we spend most of our work hours on.
Right. No. Awesome. So speaking of Apple, Apple shuts down their electric car project to move resources to focus on AI. And I thought that was really interesting. I have not followed Apple for a ton of time. I'm not an Apple fanboy or fangirl. But uh, it sounded to me, it seems to me like not a desperate act, but a yes, we're being influenced act, as opposed to like it didn't, I don't know. It didn't sound, it sounded like, we were with the like when they announced like we're closing the Siri team and we're just moving everything now into our generative AI kind of projects.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. I think it's a good move. But it also seems unusual for Apple, because I'm not sure that Apple usually signals how they're being influenced. But again, I'm new to the Apple watching game, so if anyone else has information, please share.
Well, I think there's two obvious ways to look at that. Either one, this is they realize that they're a lot further behind than they should be, or they've had an aha moment, and this is them going, okay, full speed this direction. We will dominate if we can throw enough resources at it. So
Mm.
it depends on how much you like Apple and what viewpoint you want to take there.
I'll just mention that.
It could be. Oh, sorry, Andy.
No, you go ahead.
No, just the comment is that they could have had their meta moment where instead of, going through the metaverse, they could, oh, hey, you know what? We're going to pivot to AI. And this could have been them. Or they're like, hey, we don't need to spend this much because AI, or divert some of the resources. Maybe they didn't say this, but do they need to dominate the actual hardware of the car, which is very, very difficult to do, or you just dominate the software, which could be CarPlay or whatever that is, right? So that's, yeah, could have been that.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say something quite similar, which is in terms of strategic initiatives, that's a real departure from their wheelhouse, to start building vehicles and distributing vehicles. So, maybe they shift away from that. They're not going to invest as much, but they partner up with some other automobile manufacturer
Right.
that, one of the major players, and actually do something that's a fully Appleized electric vehicle. That could be something, because the smartphone is an important component in the car, connected to the car, to manage the efficiency of electric vehicle operation and charging networks, for example. So
Right.
there's some technology and expertise at Apple, but it's really it would be a big stretch in my mind for them to go after, Tesla and the others and start to play in those markets.
Nice. And who's got another story that we should talk about?
I do, and I saw it this morning. I don't know if you know the fintech company called Klarna. Anyway, the news story in Fast Company says that its AI assistant does the work of 700 people after it laid off 700 people. So that is the that is the article. So, and that's what
it also said that it did the jobs much better.
Right.
Yeah, there was a major performance improvement, not just, replacing those 700 people, who I think in the case of Klarna, in many cases are, contract workers in relationship to that company who are in
Mhm.
the Philippines or Vietnam or elsewhere, and who are operating around the clock over there. It's kind of a thankless job to be having to work,
Yeah.
on U.S.
Did,
time while you're over in, like how disruptive is that to your family?
did they say what kind of jobs? Was it a specific field
Customer
or
support. It was
was it
Customer
basically
customer
support.
customer
support?
support. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I was reading the article. It referenced an article back in June. I'm still trying to count with my fingers which month this was. It was like June 2nd, 2022, and there was like there was this
Wow.
a big layoff on like he let I think the firm let go 10% of its workforce, and that was during that time when everybody was letting go of everybody else. But in here in that article, um, first of all, it's not no like I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it was like when you're saying it, you're like, oh yeah, all 700 can all be done by AI. I'm not sure if that was like the thing, or was it in the moment be like, oh yeah, they're as good as AI. I'm not sure what was the intent,
I
but
think what they said is they had implemented this, uh, and the work being done by the AI was equivalent to 700. In order to replace the AI now,
Mm,
they would have to hire 700 customer
yes, that's
support
right. Yeah,
agents. That's the way
Right.
it worked. It wasn't like they they were comparing the actual
yeah,
work of the 700 people that they let go previously. I don't think that was the insinuation. But they did say that there were metrical improvements in the performance of the customer support line, in effect, you know, solving tickets, in one call with a higher percentage rate, higher satisfaction scores by consumers who were interacting with the customer support line, that sort of thing.
Right.
and
The number that I remember is dropping. The average time to solution for customers dropped from something like 11 minutes to like just over 2, right? Under 3. Um, and that is fascinating too, right? So that's part of the push. If you are um, able to have a resource that not only is less expensive for your business, but also gives your customers a better experience by their measure, by the
yeah,
customer's measure. That's an interesting.
because when you call customer support or you're talking to customer support or using some sort of customer support, at times when it's a human, it's a lot longer just because they have to get information about what you're looking for. You have to describe it. They have to understand it, ingest it, and sometimes go find that information, because we've all been to, oh, can I put you on hold? And you're on hold, and then I don't know what happens, but they come back, or it's, I need to transfer you to somebody else. And so you transfer to somebody else. And so you're sitting there. But I think like from our minds, what we're looking for to either type it or talk to it, I can see that is a much quicker. And then if you can do that 24/7, even better.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
because there's no, yeah, right. And so I I would imagine, yeah, 2 minutes. If you can answer my thing in 2 minutes, then yeah, I would do it. And that's what we're finding too, is people who engage with chatbots. Once we embed it into a site, and not, it doesn't look like an actual chatbot. It's actually, it automatically shows, or it shows up just there as part of the website experience. And if you name it correctly or have great calls to actions to it, people will use the bot over searching the site, just
Right.
because
mhm.
they test it and be like, wait a minute, this actually works. How much does the thing cost? What do I need to do? Good. I can get
Yeah.
out of here because I don't have time. I don't want to waste my time hanging around your site. Most people just
Right.
don't have that time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh, so in the general theme of business process automation, where customer support has been one of the sort of the leading areas where chatbots are actively employed, and they are doing a really good job at replacing the armies of customer support agents. There's a news about a major investment in a company called Glean AI, Glean, $200 million investment at a $2.2 billion investment. So the valuation at $2.2 billion says that Glean is really catching fire with its offering in the marketplace. And what it does is something very interesting in my view, because it automates business processes within the accounting and financial reporting function. So you have a lot of people working with invoices and, accounts receivable, accounts payable, all of those processes. Well, Glean has, and I've never looked at what their actual product offering is, but that's their focus, is on those internal accounting business processes. And so to get a 2.2 billion valuation and an additional $200 million to pursue that means that they're demonstrating significant effectiveness in that, with implications to how many people can be employed now going forward, doing what were a lot of moving atoms around in many cases, paper invoices or managing email inflows, and so an important step there, but also a harbinger of potential layoffs to come in the financial and accounting areas within companies.
Right. I did a project, one of the projects that I did on the one of my forays into Google Cloud was setting up like, okay, so this is what this kind of invoice looks like, and so the numbers you want are here, and then this, right? So you have like 4 or 5 typical invoices that you receive, and you say where it's going to be. This is potentially like, no, I can look at it, I can see I have that kind of visual understanding.
Massive
right?
training. Those budgets with 200 million mean it can do some significant training.
Nice.
So I'd like to shift tacks here and talk about a story that for me is super huge, but probably not large in the grand scale of things. It's a company called LTX. And so they've been around for a few years, and they came out with an app a while ago. I think it was called Facetune, and that's a really popular app to improve your images. And we're not just talking about improving quality and lighting and things like that, but even make adjustments like improving your smile and things like that. And so that's been a very popular app. But they just came out with something called LTX Studio, and it's a tool to help filmmakers, right? It generates a visual element for storyboarding and shot editing. Okay, so just a little quick background. So storyboarding in the filmmaking process helps you plan out what the story is going to break down for you, right? In whatever narrative or whatever your project you're trying to work on. And so you identify scenes and you visualize what kind of action or movement that's going to happen. Then shot editing is along the side in the pre-production process is sort of just figuring out how do you want this shot to be lit? How do you want the camera movements, right? So this will help directors, cinematographers, and anyone filling those roles or connected to those roles in their pre-production process. So LTX in their LTX Studio now, you generate the scene that you want, text-based generation. It'll generate the image. Then you can instruct the software to make adjustments, like, oh, this needs to be punched in some more, or I need a dolly movement, left to right for and at a certain angle or certain distance. What kind of light changes? Let's make this look more saturated, or make this look, sepia, or those kinds of things. And so this tool really helps with that pre-production process. Now, of course, I want to get my hands on it and access to it, so I'll definitely try it out in the future. But this is a great new tool for filmmakers that uses generative AI to help as part of the creative process. This is this is that initial step where we're seeing, instead of people's fears of replacing creativity, this is an example of how it will enhance your creativity, right?
Nice.
You can see very clear visualizations of what's in your head and getting it down onto paper, so to speak.
Nice.
On text to image, there's an announcement by Playground AI, which launched a new text to image generative model called Playground V2.5, which they claim outperforms the previous models like DALL-E 3 and Midjourney 5.6. Maybe not Midjourney 6, but it's a very simple text to image model. And I tried it last night. I've been always using as a test a simple prompt, which is like, show me a horse, a mare, muscular and sleek, jumping over a fence into a pasture with snow-capped mountains in the background. Well, DALL-E 3, messed up the hooves, and the one leg was poking out the back, and it just didn't do it very well. But this Playground V2.5 did a very satisfying image of
Nice.
a beautiful horse leaping over with, really, really nice. Now, what they claim is that their methods result in more visually appealing results than the alternatives. And I will attest to that. Like, at least in my little test prompt for text to image, it did the best job thus far of any of the models out there. Playground AI, Playground V2.5.
Nice.
Nice.
Some of the images that I saw that people were posting were also very striking. There is something different about the images that they're creating.
Yeah.
Nice.
I have a
Did-
couple other things to mention. What you were talking about,
Yeah.
text to image? Yeah.
Well, actually, in the same kind of in the same kind of area is the Pika's new
Oh,
in it,
yes.
the voice. In part, I think they have a partnership with 11 Labs, and we're hearing 11 Labs a lot in their podcast with Perplexity. Now they have, you can add your voice to the video generation. So I think before, when you were talking about video generation, text to video, but now you can add voice to that video. So
Right.
I think like we're getting those steps that you are now people wanting. It's like, oh, I can create a movie, but now I need to put voices to the actors, because usually it was like a voice dub, a voice overlay. Now you don't. Now your characters that you're creating now. I don't know if anyone has an actual Pika Pro, but you can actually use it with Pika Pro, and then there are some people who have been showcasing it, which I thought was fantastic.
So it's not just voice, but it's important that the video is lip syncing correctly.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That's the advance there.
Yeah.
And one other thing they definitely highlight for Pika, and I'm sure this is totally on purpose, is Pika seems to do really well with drawn or animated type of generation, right? So a lot of the examples, the really good examples that I've seen come out of Pika is animation style or cell animation style generative art, right? And so aligning that voice sync with your voice generation is a huge step in getting that genre or that visual genre towards creation, right? Because that fills in a lot of gaps. So I have high hopes, and we'll see some interesting films come out of that.
Right. To that end, I'll just pop in about emo. Alibaba has released a paper, maybe, or a model that like not everybody has access to. That is not Pika is a video generation tool that has added this lip sync. Emo is taking still photos and adding lip sync and animating the photo as though it's talking. And it's pretty interesting. It's like multiple languages, so that's not a thing. It's old black and white photos. It's non-human, like anime kind of things. So not available, but very interesting what's coming out with this.
And since we're on the media track, I've got another story that I think might be a future look. So there is a company called Inkit, Inkitt, and they're a big competitor along the self-publishing lines of things. So they want to use AI to help Inkit turn into a media empire, right? So they're very popular. They have 33 million users, and so there would be a competitor to Wattpad or even KDP in terms of getting your books published, right? Getting your stories made. So Ingot just raised another $37 million to help become how they quoted the Disney for the 21st century. So what they're looking to do is leverage their AI implementations to leverage all of the content that is on their platform and try to make blockbuster films out of the available content.
Oh, wow.
Which I think is actually a pretty awesome approach to this, because large studios have been relying on the built-in audience for IP. And that's why we've seen so many books turned into movies over the years, is because they leverage that built-in audience for a particular IP, whether it be something as huge as Star Wars or as small or focused on a book line like Percy Jackson or something like that, or Harry Potter at the time when it first came out. So they're looking to take those, I assume the popular IP that's on their platform, and then create films or media all based upon that content. And because they have the platform and they already have those deals with the authors, it's real simple, I think, to just turn that into film rights or video rights and things like that. So I'll definitely be keeping an eye on them and see when their first product comes out and see how much of a hit it is.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Andy, you had others? What do you got?
Yeah. So OpenAI, you might have mentioned this at the top of the show. I had trouble getting this. My computer crapped out, so I'm doing this from my phone, but it actually works. So
Hello.
that's good as a backup. The OpenAI is in a relationship. We're not sure whether the agreement is finalized, but they're in a relationship with Tumblr and WordPress. Those two companies, those two platforms out there for user-generated content, are both from the same company. I forget the name of the company, but OpenAI is raising some hackles out there because there are millions and millions of Tumblr folks, and there are millions and millions of WordPress sites out there. And the parent company is taking all of that content and providing it under some agreement that may or may not yet be inked to OpenAI for training their models, which is a good advancement for AI, but it also raises the questions about permissioning and whether you can opt in or opt out. But it sounds like the issue of opt out is more relevant because OpenAI's already ingested those things. So now they're having the negotiation to say, okay, well, how do we do this in a formal and legal way? And do we have to get the permission of the content creators on that platform? My guess is that the terms and conditions that were signed by a click of a button by most of the people who use Tumblr or WordPress include that the content that they publish there can be used in various ways by the parent company. So then the other thing is that Microsoft made a deal with Mistral. Yeah, so now Mistral has this is this French company that has really very capable small scale models, and they're actually launching a large LLM, also called Mistral Large, but their Mistral 8x7b is a mixture of experts model that performs nearly at the level of ChatGPT-4 with only 8 instances of 7 billion parameter models ganged together. So they got an investment now from Microsoft, which is a pittance in the world at 16 million. That's what Microsoft gave to Mistral for this agreement. That's a very small investment in the scale of the, like level of ownership that Microsoft gets there. But importantly, it's a huge advance for Mistral, because Mistral will now be included in Microsoft Azure options when you are, invoking a large language model. And that gives a very high degree of legitimacy and exposure to the entire Microsoft ecosystem, to this line of models from Mistral.
Yeah.
And it also helps protect them from, monopoly musings as well. And that's one of the things I was worried about. The Copilot story with Intel is, if Copilot is on every Microsoft Windows PC, are we going to have another Internet Explorer situation?
Yeah.
But that's for another time. I did have one last story after you got that.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on the Mistral. So Arthur Mensch is a co-CEO, I think, and he put out a tweet or an X statement clarifying a couple things, since we're reading creative interpretations of the announcements. Microsoft got the big play in this, but they're a reseller and they have reseller agreements with other companies. So like they got a giant pushback, like, you're getting in bed with big tech and what is happening here?
Right.
He also said, hey, we're still committed to leading open weight models. We asked for a little patience. 1,500 H100s can only get us that far, right? So like pushing back on, hey, we are interested in competing and doing this in a different kind of way, but we need the resources. So, yay. Jyunmi.
So one quick last thing a story to highlight that I found interesting is there is a company out there or group out there called Flow GPT, and they are an app store for user generated or user created custom GPTs. So we're seeing an alternate offering besides OpenAI's custom GPTs. And to your story, Andy, about Reddit and those other groups, leveraging their user-generated content, perhaps if we have groups like or companies like FlowGPT, we might see building custom GPTs turn into a more revenue-generating system, because we haven't seen anything from OpenAI so far. And AIs move fast. It's only been a couple months. Why aren't they paying out the $1 million? That's what it sounds like, right? AI is huge. Everyone should make millions of dollars now. But so I just wanted to highlight that there is an alternate out there. And TechCrunch did a story on them, and they're calling it the Wild West. So we've talked about generative art platforms before, where people can display their own gen art creations and things like that. And right now they're open up. FlowGPT is open for tips and contributor donations and things like that. So slowly moving towards how AI can help in the UGC market.
Nice. Karl, do you have
there is one more. I don't know. I can't remember if we talked about it last week or it was just I don't think we did, but it's that Google had to remove image people generation from Gemini, just because, and then even Sundar Pichai actually had to address Google, like the entire team on, it's not acceptable and they're trying to fix it. And then there's a whole bunch of news from Elon saying somebody called me from Google, called me, and they're trying to do better. And then somebody called me again, and it's going to take them months to fix this because of reasons. What I think the one thing that I'm concerned about, it's not the image generation part. It's the ability to inject specific things that people want or not want to see. And I was thinking of more as, if you look at search generative experience, the whole point of that is you want to generate your answers. But I'm a little worried from the marketing and advertising perspective is, hey, wait a minute, is what is being generated like just what we're seeing from normal large language model generations, or has it been injected with advertising
Right.
from people who pay? Which then to me, I'm like, this whole defeats the whole thing, defeats the entire purpose of me trying to search for answers, because these answers are now paid for. And I was like, well, if that's the case, then I'll rather go to another platform. Like, we've already had enough. Like, I'm thinking, like, you've littered the entire search results page with advertising. The only frontier left is to inject the actual generative experience with more advertising, this time advertised messages. And I was like, and we've seen the Google the transcripts from their monopoly court cases where they have trained used the algorithm to change it up, for, hey, we need some cash flow or whatever. They've made it right. So we've seen them do that. This is another example. I was like, well, what is the next step? Right. So I'm like, I'm just wary of that whole piece.
So you're giving great lead into the next two shows. Tomorrow we are talking about navigating the path between AI innovation and bias. Because the conversation's a little more complex than it seems on the first brush. And then we're talking about the review of Arc Search. We're specifically reviewing the app, and Arc Search is very much searching searching what you want, not influenced by advertisers. So if you want to play along with us, go ahead and download Arc Search on your mobile devices, and come back on Friday. Come back tomorrow. Conversation about bias always seems to bring out some strong feelings. We did not mention NVIDIA's big announcement. I believe, I don't know, congratulations, Andy. As far as I know, you're the co-host who is benefiting from that. Maybe Karl too. I don't know. But still a good. They made a ton of money. It seems to be still a good idea. And what they said was that they are just getting started. Right, they're looking at enterprise adoption, which will also need their chips. So, thank you so much. And let me get our music started. Awesome.
Goodbye, all.
Aloha.
Bye, everybody. Nope. All right, we got no logo at the end. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye. Have a good day.